What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny. If this is your first time here, this is Rapid Fire Q&A. So on this channel, we speak about what it looks like to scale businesses inside B2B, B2C, or whatever type of leadership you're in. This is exactly how to do it because I feel like there's just a lot of people out there that just can't seem to get this right, and I make content to make sure that you do. I have 17 years of experience, over $100 million in lifetime sales. I run a team of over 56 individuals, and I just don't want to see people suck. So in building out and looking to see about partnering with a consultant, right? There's a couple things that you need to consider that make the decision that much more bright. And I did a crazy lead magnet giveaway today, and I recorded, it was basically a 21-day challenge of like what it looks like to actually make a scale model, right? And I actually went through like all 21 and I recorded the entire process. So that's gonna be a giveaway. That's actually gonna be a link in the description if you wanna learn more about that. The newsletter is also in the bio as well. But like, this is what it looks like. So I'm gonna kind of do like a spin-off series of like what it looks like to actually get a consultant inside of your business and why it makes more sense to do that as opposed to having like an in-house team, right? Because I do think that the in-house makes sense, and I don't fully agree with outsourcing agencies. And the reason I don't agree with outsourcing agencies is because at the end of the day, like, there's no loyalty to you, right? Like you're buying something, you're paying for placement, things like that. But like at the end of the day, the culture, nothing of it is actually a learning process, right? Unless you're actively going to them and asking for their secrets and thinking that you giving them money is going to have them give you all their process, it's not. When you actually go through a consultant, a real consultant, not like just like a consultant and by byproduct, like a real consultant will build out an entire case for you. Like there's a process called casing. Casing essentially means that they will build whatever challenge that you have inside your business. They will build you the plan, stick with you while you implement it, and then that's how that relationship actually goes. Like that's how that relationship is supposed to look. So if you are looking for a consultant, as far as like scaling and growth management, like this is what this looks like, right? So how do B2B consultants assist in managing business growth effectively? Here's the thing. They are assigned to a very specific challenge, right? They are there to case a problem. So if a business has a problem, whether it's like, we need more people to show up, we need more prospecting, we need to get more sales done, like we're looking to scale, like what does that look like to actually implement, a 2 to 5x scale range? Like, can we support this financial risk over the course of the next 2 to 3 years? Like that kind of problem, right? So when you bring in a B2B consultant, essentially what you're doing is you're bringing in an expert, right? That expert is basically your speed, right? Like you're buying into speed, but you're not doing it through the outsourcing of an agency. Because when you do an outsource through an agency, what winds up happening is that, again, they'll implant their people, like if that actually makes sense, but they're going to sign you on for retainers, they're going to sign you on for all these things. And at the end, the process isn't actually yours. Like you have to stay with the individual or the individuals that are part of that process, because if they leave, you lose the process, right? When you work with a consultant, it makes more sense because when they give you the case, right? When they build out the case for you that says, this actually makes sense, you should go ahead and do this, this is what next steps look like, this is how you implement the process. You can actually take it, reproduce it, and it doesn't matter. Like if the hires that you make for that process eventually don't work or work out differently or not work out the way that you want them to, and you reallocate them in different parts of the company, you still have the process in place, and the process proves that it works because they use logic and data to figure out that, hey, what you're looking to do actually can happen. Like, and that's what that looks like, right? So what scaling strategies do consultants typically recommend, right? So there's a big list of what this actually looks like, but basically they need to understand what the problem is. So having a really serious discovery conversation of like, what this looks like, what does it look like if we don't get this right? What are the challenges? What have you done? And really going through the entire process. Then once you have all the information collected and you're in that gathering phase, then you start a hypothesis, right? The hypothesis is, based on the data that we have and what it looks like to actually do this, like, is there enough data to support that this is actually a thing that's going to go right? Then you start to put pressure on the hypothesis. You have to test it, right? So you start to build out an implementation strategy based on that hypothesis. If the data and the logic align and you can actually put together the hypothesis, then you start implementation after you have agreement, right? You make agreement with the owners of the business and say, like, this is what it's actually going to look like to implement on a day-to-day. This is what our first 30, 60, 90 days is going to look like. If everybody is on board, in agreement, in alignment, then we actually stay on through implementation to make sure that if there are pivots or changes in the strategy that have to be affected in real time, that it can be done, because obviously you have your expert onboarded through the process of implementing. So you get specialty, which is really important. A lot of people don't respect the fact that like specialty is really a thing, and you don't have to like waste the payroll to do it. And then once you get the process, it's a duplicatable process, right? As you grow, like you could figure it out and reverse engineer of like what it looked like to actually put it into works. So how can consultants help businesses handle the complexities of scaling operations? Here's the thing. When you case a problem and you build out a hypothesis, right, you're essentially putting together everything. Like you're putting together from A to Z the SOP, the standard operating procedure of like what this looks like. So in every way that this could be stress tested, and every way that it could be misaligned, any way that it could be misunderstood, like there's a pivot point for all of this, like what it looks like to actually work inside the real world, inside of your business, inside of the day-to-day. Because if you don't have a clear vision of what this looks like and your implementation is off and the strategy is misaligned, then it's not going to work, right? This is why this has to get stress tested, and this is why these are really key players to have inside of scaling and growth management, right? In what ways do consultants support sustainable growth initiatives, right? This is what they're brought in for. Like at the end of the day, like it's, you can make heads or tails of it, but like they're brought in to actually make a difference inside of your business, right? Like you have a problem and the problem is proving too big. And here's the thing, and this is the truth of the matter. Like if you ever look at like emotional logic, right? There's a difference between emotion and logic. Like why can somebody outside of your relationship, outside of your life, outside of your like sphere of influence, make a decision that's easier for you to understand than one that's you're emotionally invested in? So like look at it like this. Like this is a good way to look at it. So if you've ever had relationship troubles, let's just say, right? Or you have financial risk associated with something, right? You're emotionally invested in whatever the outcome is. Like you're worried about what the outcome is going to cause in regards to pain, right? That pain is keeping you inside of a relationship or inside of a thing or inside of a situation that you know you shouldn't be in because it's not right for you, but you're worried about the pain now, and that's forcing you to endure smaller pain by staying around something that's not actually right for you. When you have a consultant come in, that outside point of view, they can view things logically without the emotional attachments or restrictions that keep you from making a proper decision. Therefore, when you introduce logic to an emotional state, you remove the emotional state, allow the logic to actually present the problem and the answer simultaneously, and actually deliver that and what that looks like inside of your day-to-day. So this is why you want to have them, because they're not as emotionally invested in the business and they're not blinded by the things that you see on a daily basis that you are no longer seeing because your brain has told you that this is now routine. So how do B2B consultants ensure that growth strategies are scalable and adaptable? Here's the thing. If it's part of the case, if it's part of the thesis, if this is part of the thing that you're looking to have, and this is why you brought a consultant on, it's really important for them to understand that they need to build that into the process, right? And remember, at the end of the day, like when you have a conversation in a meeting that says, this is the report that we've built, this is the hypothesis that we've made, this is the implementation that we suggest, this is the strategy that we think will get us there. At the end of the day, all parties have to be in alignment on what that looks like. So if you truly do not feel that you can actually get to a place where this makes sense, then guess what? You don't actually have to run with it. You don't have to push forward, right? It's not like you spent $15,000 and you onboarded somebody inside of a business that's actually outsourced from an agency or something. Like, you don't have to move forward with it. Like, scaling and growth is really simple because, again, at the end of the day, like, you're paying for speed, knowledge, intellect, and experience, right? Somebody got 10 or 15 years of experience. To onboard somebody like that would actually cost you $150,000 to $200,000 a year if you brought them in-house. You could spend $15,000, $20,000 a year for an agency, or you can go with the consultant and either pay a fee to have the implementation strategy built out, or you can pay a PPO, which is a pay per opportunity, right? What does that opportunity look like? Like, you're getting a piece of this. Like, if you wanted to do like a rev share option, but these things are a little more negotiable, right? Like, there's major companies that solve big problems for a lot of companies that this is what they do. They go in, they case something, and they look at something logically, not emotionally. And that is the biggest differentiator between a consultant and somebody that you bring in-house and somebody on your team that you're trying to assign additional responsibilities to see what they can do with the problem at hand, right? Bring in a professional, have them review it, right? There's actually an audit in the bottom of this link that I've actually just created. And I'm looking to do some free work because I am building out Scale Session, which is a different version of the companies I've talked about in these videos separately. So if you actually want to see what it looks like to potentially work with us, this is a free audit. Like, there's no obligation, there's no strings, there's no nothing. Like, but there are limited spots because it's a free audit of your business. If you fill it out and go through the things that are actually challenged inside of your business and we can help, we can have a conversation of what that looks like. You prefer any type of contact method, we will deliver based on that. And if you want to actually work on implementation, we can have a conversation on what that looks like and next steps. But if you don't and you just want to take the advice and we agree that like this is something we could potentially help you with, we'll just give you the advice and call it a day. Like, it's literally just free work for the sake of free work. So if you want to understand what that looks like, go ahead and click the link. There's also the 21-day scaling feature, which I just built out. So definitely hop into that. And there's also a newsletter where I drop every Saturday. It's a quick 4-minute read on just things and insights that I see inside of the business today. Again, hiring a consultant is super beneficial because at the end of the day, you are getting the experience, the speed, and you're getting somebody that can actually plug into your business based on your business, that looks at your business from a different dynamic, right? Like, at the end of the day, perception is reality, right? But the perception that you're in is not the perception that's real because you're seeing things in a different set of view, right? You want it from a different logical standpoint, because at the end of the day, logic and data are going to be the things that ultimately drive what the process is going to look like, what questions are going to be asked, and what next steps really look like to get everybody inside of alignment to show what the next phase of the business looks like. So if you want to understand what it looks like to 2 to 5x, 2 to 10x your business, then click the link below. We can do the free audit, review that process. Click the link below, hop inside the newsletter, click the link below, get the 21-day scaling method, or just get in touch with us and see what it looks like to actually do business with us on a longer term, right? So I will catch you guys next time. Thanks so much.